The following Nasdaq Behind the Bell podcast was recorded live at the 2017 NRF Annual Convention and Expo, retail's big show at the Jacob K. Javits Convention Center in New York City. Here are your Nasdaq hosts, Bradley Smith and Josh Matches.
And today we've got a special guest with us. We've got Pano, Anthos from Xrc Labs. You're the founder and managing director. Great to have you here with us.
Great to be here. You guys are awesome for doing this. Thank you.
Well, thank you for telling us we're awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes us feel special.
We love the Nasdaq.
We do too.
We definitely do.
Definitely do.
So tell us about Xrc Labs. Just how did it get its start to begin with?
So what we are is a retail and consumer goods accelerator inside Parsons. So we're sponsored deeply by both the Parsons School of Design and also Accenture. The division's Kurt Salmon, but now Accenture, helping retailers and consumer goods companies transform.
That's amazing. I live next door to Parsons.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. Yeah, no, it's a crazy space, right? I mean, it's
great space.
It's the center of millennialdom. You know, there's more purple hair per square foot than anywhere else in the world, I think.
And Mohawks. Can't discount the Mohawks.
Exactly. So it's been a great place for us. Parsons has been hugely supportive. Everything from their board of directors all the way through the students. Hugely supportive. And they see what we saw, which is their graduate students, their students coming out, were trying to get into a workforce that essentially has been drying up, or has not been innovating. And so they come out with all of these fresh ideas, and the retailers and consumer goods companies aren't necessarily moving as fast as the students are. So we've been helping the students develop more business skills in some respects, hiring them as interns and associates and bringing them through our programs. And then at the same time, we're obviously working with the retailers and making connections to the students and also helping them just around here, around innovation and technology.
And so for the students, I imagine it would be that first real exposure to entrepreneurship for them. How do you work with them through that process and kind of give them that mindset that they need?
Well, so there is inside Parsons, there's a group called the iLab that works with, so do you want to be an entrepreneur question? We're a little farther along. We're like, you're an entrepreneur, you've got a product, you want to build something, you want to make a great company out of this, we'll be happy to help. So it's not quite as early as what's entrepreneurialism, right? We're kind of like entrepreneurialism 401 or graduate program as opposed to undergraduate.
So are they in Parsons as a graduate student with a product and that's how they get the connection? Or do they go completely in the other direction?
Yeah, so Parsons said, it does not have to be a Parsons student.
Got it.
We want best of breed. And so the Parsons students, we've had at least one every class, but not 10. In part because there's a constant learning. We're a new product for Parsons. I mean, we're a year old. And it's not something that the students automatically understand day one. Now we have had we've assisted a number of students get jobs inside the consumer goods and retail industry. So that's been great. And of course, we love entrepreneurs and students to be entrepreneurs, but usually we're finding entrepreneurs coming out at 26, 27, not right out of school. It's tough, unless you're...
Particularly in retail, I think.
Exactly. And in coding, all this kind of... It's not Parsons. What Parsons does is you don't teach you how to code, so you have to really come at it from left field. Now, what we are doing is taking some of the designers who've won awards and bringing them in as innovators in residence. Lucy Jones is our first. She won the Parsons Designer of the Year Award in 2015, I believe, and was actually just written up in the New York Times Magazine section for her, the products she's developing for the handicapped, or the folks who have development disabilities.
Wow.
So there's a whole world of opportunity in the physically, kind of disabled category that have never been touched. So there's a lot of opportunity for her. We're very excited by it, and really excited for any of the innovators and designers who want to come through the program and we can help them out.
Absolutely, and universities are becoming better about that too. We find, and even in my alma mater at Drexel, there's a huge entrepreneurial program where there's an incubator on site within the university. So I think that a lot of schools are being a little bit more open to the fact that you don't need to wait until you graduate, until you've got all the paper credentials, if you will.
That's right.
This is something that you could start right now, and what better place to start it than in school when you're already developing these relationships with people across different areas of study. So I think that a lot more schools are beginning to adapt to that. I don't know if that's what you're saying from your perspective.
Well,
as well.
they have to. I don't think there's a choice anymore. You can't afford to graduate with $100,000 and $200,000 in debt and not have some skills. Right? I mean, it's great to know that art history and so forth are all important.
I took so much from art and history that I use at Nasdaq.
But it's how you think, right? I mean, there's a whole thinking process that you develop. And Parsons is really focused on design thinking, which is this holistic model for how do you think about product development in the context of everything. So we're good. Go ahead.
And no, I was going to say it's got to be great for those Parsons students who I think they do have kind of almost a limited focus in where their career could be headed towards. And then now there's this opportunity where maybe they could actually work at a startup. Maybe their design skills or whatever they'd like to actually is available in the startup world, or if it isn't already created, that you could even dream it.
Right. So we're just early days in our relationship with them, but they've been just amazing partners to give us a lot of freedom and flexibility. They don't make any requirements on us whatsoever. We honor their values and mission, so we're aligned. We don't take on tobacco companies or gun companies or something like that. But at the same time, we also have the freedom to say no and say, I'm sorry, I like the student, but the product idea is just not tenable.
There.
Right.
So what are some of the great things that are coming out of it so far? You have some.
Now that's the fun part. So upstairs here, Lumia is making apparel smart, not wearable, smart. So the idea is, in order to do anything with wearables, you have to have electricity and a battery, and that means wires. And wires in apparel suck. No one wants to wear wires.
Right.
You remember, I don't know if you ever had to deal with those old electric blankets.
Yeah.
The wires, right?
I've still got one.
Exactly. Are they the most awful thing to be underneath or whatever? They're gross.
Only when it's warm,
Exactly, but they're gross, right?
Yeah. There's something gross about being connected to electricity.
Exactly, right. So what they've done is they've come up with technology to essentially electrify the fabric without any wires.
Wow.
So now it's just a jacket and a battery. And it can light up and do all its cool stuff without any of the complexities of wires. And so what that really gets into is transforming apparel. So I asked a question downstairs in the innovation panel we ran and said, how many of you would pay $100 more for a shirt that would warm up in the cold and cool down in the heat so that you don't need jackets? Everyone was raising their hand like, I would love to get rid of the outer coat stuff.
Yeah.
So responsive apparel could be kinetic, motion. A lot of 95% of workman's comp issues, which is a multi-billion-dollar problem, happens in the first 3 days of a person's job in warehouses because they lift the boxes the wrong way. They bend over, they don't squat, the whole stuff. So if you had technology that could say, oh, you're not squatting properly, you're not moving properly, and give you a little haptic feedback, it's worth billions.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that she's working on. Downstairs in the Intel booth, we have 3 companies that are being highly profiled. One is the pop-up buy reveal. So it's taking the idea of a store and putting it on a street corner. Fully operational, self-powered, no wires.
Any humans operating it at
Humans
all?
operating it.
Okay.
2 fitting rooms, so you can actually try on clothing and have privacy. And it's
so
on any
cool.
street corner. And it's doing well in excess of what Apple does per square foot.
Brad, we got to go see that.
Yeah, you'd love that.
And so that brings up another good point because, all the rage a couple, weeks ago, months ago, when Snap Spectacles were doing their huge launch, it was, where can you get to the drop site? So how is that changing this whole, brick and mortar industry as we move forward?
I was just saying this to an executive last night in a panel discussion. I said, you're not a store, you're a brand. And as a brand, you have a responsibility to get to where I am, not force me to go to where you are.
But didn't that kind of force people to go to where Snap was a little
so
bit?
that's an event.
Yeah.
Right? Snap
That's an
can do
event,
that.
and they're incredible at mystery marketing, which is its own piece.
That's true.
But also a piece of this, which is that with this technology, you could go and replicate that for apparel.
It's sustainably, you get pretty annoyed if you never know where to go to get something, or where the consumer is. So street corners are great because everyone's on a street corner and they walk around. So Reveal's doing phenomenally well. There's going to be brands announcements where they're going to launch new products inside the Reveal.
That'd be a great thing for one of our apparel companies in Times Square.
Absolutely.
We have tons of NASDAQ listed companies that are always looking, how do they activate outside?
Right.
Oh yeah, and I could give you 3 or 4 that you would know the name of right away who've said we're going to use this technology, this platform. And the New York Economic Development Corporation's got very excited about helping promote emergent brands. So the big problem with a lot of brands is they can't get the retail. Opening up a kiosk is $50,000 a month.
Yes.
Wow. It's a lot of money, if you're a small brand. So this gives them a way to get started, test, understand the market, figure out who's picking up what product without ever having to put those kind of investments.
And as soon as you create that retail footprint, you run into the issues of, did we take out too much space? Did we take out too little space?
That's
All
right.
those kind of problems kind of melt away if you
That's
have
right.
this kind of a mobile.
That's right.
Or are we in the right space to begin with?
Right. And then
Completely.
Banter is the second one I'd mention. So mobile apps have been around for a long time. They're dead. They're history. They're toast. Because you're only using 3 or 4 apps. You're not going to open up more apps.
I don't need another one.
Exactly. So what Banter does is it says, look, we should be able to communicate with the customer, and the customer should be able to communicate to us through chat. So things like, where's the red hammer? What size, do you have this in our size? Do you have, where is whatever? The first question most people ask is, where is? You're in a store, you don't know where you are, you're lost, or you've got to figure out quickly how to get in and out.
Right.
So this whole chat process, it's not a bot. It really isn't a chat bot, because chat bots are inside like Facebook Messenger, and they're kind of cute and dumb.
And all of the bots, that was a huge thing this year that I feel like it kind of fizzled. It didn't really work out. It wasn't what people wanted. People don't want to message brands.
They don't know. They don't want another robot to speak to. We are so fed up with calling into a number as is and getting a customer service representative that is saying, press 1 if you would like to speak to such and such. We just want to speak to someone.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to say, where's the red hammer? Done. Aisle 4, bin 5.
Right.
And by the way, here's how to get there.
Yeah.
In case you don't know what you're doing. So that's a really cool company that's really starting to take off. And then Find Mine is an AI platform that completes the look. So let's say that's a cool looking jacket, very nice.
He has a lot of cool looking jackets.
I bet he does.
Should see his jackets.
So when you see that jacket on a product page, today what do you see below the product and the bottom? What do you see? Usually.
The pants?
No, you don't. You see more jackets. So the recommendation engines just show you more jackets. Like, really? Amazon does really the same thing. They really don't provide an outfit.
Right.
And the outfit today would otherwise have to be done by a human being. Oh, you should have this with that, and they hold everything up, and you go, oh yeah.
So this is like the virtual stylist kind of thing?
Exactly, but it's on your product page. And so it generates automatically through artificial intelligence and learning from the merchandiser, because the merchandiser says, no, yes, what the look looks like. And they have crushed it at some major manufacturers that will come online. They've raised their e-commerce total revenue by 6%.
That makes a lot of sense, because I feel like, stylist decisions are incredible, but if you have AI that can learn from them, then you don't have to put together looks for all sorts of things that maybe somebody wasn't really going to pick out for the customer.
Yeah, so those are 4 that are here today that we're really excited by, and there's 2 more here that have just started out with us. We're up to 25 companies now, and we spawn or promote 10 companies or 20 companies a year, so it's going to be a lot.
And how much more do you plan to grow?
Oh, you mean, well, we'll still do 2 classes a year.
2 classes a year.
That's the plan. And we're expanding into other areas. We're going to probably open up a retail boot camp in the not too distant future to help direct-to-consumer brands get to retail.
Wow.
So if you're a Harry's or a Dollar Shave Club or a ABC company and you have no physical footprint, it's a kind of scary thing. It's a whole different set of skills to open up retail than direct-to-consumer. So we can be very helpful there. A lot of companies have come to us, and we have great sponsors. So we've got Accenture and Intel and Best Buy and Kurtz, and all kinds of great companies surrounding the startups, and also learning themselves because they want to get access to this technology really early.
So then how do you go about recognizing some of these innovative startups that you work with?
Well, so one of the things that happened was NRF came to me and said, can you help us with the iLab? We're a trade show organization. We're not experts in innovation. I said, sure. I said, but one thing here is that it's my way or the highway. I'm not going to compromise on quality because people will smell that a mile away, right? So we have certain points of view. There are 4 big topic areas that we really care about and we're mapped to. The first is, and I'm sorry, I hope this doesn't sound like a lecture, it's not my intent. The first is store to consumer. The whole idea of forcing the consumer to go to the store is just dumb. I'm sorry, I have no other word for it, because Amazon has been crushing it, not because of price, Convenience.
Yeah.
Everything's about convenience. One-click checkout and 2-day shipping and just simplicity,
But there are there are certain segments of the retail market where experience comes first, and that's an in-person experience.
Right.
But the in-person could be on a street corner. This is why I think the reveal, anything that does that kind of experience, is your first engagement has to be low cost. It has to be frictionless. It has to be, oh my gosh, I had no idea. As opposed to, I'm going to drive 20 minutes, I'm going to park in a mall, I'm going to go visit a store for something that I may not even know that I want. And I think what's happened is, we've used a lot of marketing to try to inspire people, but now marketing, aren't you inundated with marketing today? It's going to get hard. So we just want to see retailers be brands first and retailers second. If they're a brand, then they understand the consumer, they deliver value to the consumer wherever that is. And so if it's a Best Buy and you want to bring them into the store so they can see that big honking TV, that makes perfect sense, right?
So it's like the shift of brick and mortar to being experiential centers rather than points of sale.
Right, but if you want to try on headsets, you don't need to go in a Best Buy to try on a headset. You could do that on a street corner.
Yeah.
We're doing
That's
it here,
true.
right? I mean, I could try on 3 headsets in the middle of all this noise, so to speak, and it'd be a perfectly great experience for me. So it's not being constrained by that. The second is that the App Store is the biggest store in the world. So why don't we act like it? So step back and think about that for a moment. So first, you have popularity, top ratings, top this, top that. Can you find that in a store?
No.
No. Do you want that in a store?
You would.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to buy the product no one owns and they hate or it unravels or
be
it
the
falls.
guinea pig on a new product.
Exactly,
yeah.
right. Some people do, and that's fine, but most people want to know, what's the ratings and reviews on this thing? Is it any good?
You're right. Retail today is much more of a gamble than it should be.
Complete gamble. Second is, and the whole notion of popularity is you're basically being completely dictated by a visual merchandiser. They decide what you see first, not the consumer. I think that's backwards. The consumer should be able to effectively come into a store and understand what's popular, what's interesting, and essentially, whether it's through AR or other means, essentially resort the merchandise that they're seeing.
But there's, a thing in retail, which is that popular is not always good, right? Like
That's a mistake.
Do you think so?
Absolutely.
All right, so take a luxury market, right? Like where you walk in and maybe the most visible item is for the generic customer. But for the fashion customer, that's not what they're going to want to see when they walk in the door.
So there's 2 types of popularity, right? It's the quality of the reviews. This is amazing, but very expensive, versus this is amazing and inexpensive, right? And I think that luxury tends to hide behind the exclusive story a little too much and not enough about the amazing product story. So we think there should be more transparency, right, in the market to allow consumers to communicate the value of the products that they're wearing and like. And if they don't like it, it shouldn't be made. So it's going to sort itself out because, it's only a matter of time whether, Hermes likes it or not. The stuff's going to be available on different sites. Here's an example. Our third class has a company that if you are on a product page and you right mouse click, and let's say you're looking at a Valentino red dress and it's $8,000. She'll show you 50 other red dresses, very similar structured, very different, but similar at wildly different price points across the entire web. Now
Scary for Valentino.
Exactly. Exactly. And guess what? If Valentino wants to win, they got to win on their reviews and their consumer loyalty. If you've got ridiculous ratings that say, this is the only dress I will ever own, I would do anything to own this dress, that's going to be pretty compelling compared to the dress that's $200 and says, wear once and throw away,
I don't know that's my only problem with this is I don't think that's the reason they buy the Valentino dress.
I get it. I hear you.
You're buying the Valentino dress because that's what came down the runway, and that's the reason you're buying that dress, not because the reviews were X, Y, or Z.
Well, let me put it this way.
Versus the $49.
If the reviews were bad on that dress, would you still buy it?
I mean, I think that's a consumer decision, but I think at the end of the day that, fashion is still dictated by the runway.
It's changing because I think what you're finding is new ways of disclosing product is not going through traditional fashion models, and you see that with Amazon all day long. I mean, they're the largest retailer now, apparel retailer in the world.
And now they've dipped into creating their own kind of private labels.
Correct. And they're not on any runway, and they don't care about the runway. So it's a really interesting challenge to the runway. I mean, I'm not against the runway, don't get me wrong.
Amazon just sponsored Fashion Week, so I mean, they do,
Yeah.
but they're not
still sponsoring it and kind of...
And they aren't putting looks down the runway.
Exactly.
I agree.
So all I'm saying is that that's one channel. The runway is an important channel, not to be ignored, always, support it, great, but it's not the only channel out there, and our stores need to evolve. So the second thing is, we call stores platform. They've got to understand that it's not just about your product. I mean, the App Store is beautiful because it carries everyone's app. And guess what? The fittest survive. And the ones that don't, they're gone. So can you imagine, instead of, an Amazon's marketplace, what is the percent of their business? 35, 40% of their total volume?
My devil's advocate thing on your App Store is there are some apps in that top 10 where you download them and they're a junk app that somehow they've tricked a lot of people into being the most popular.
Yeah.
What happens when that happens to retail?
Amazon curates those. And if they get complaints and reports, they'll pull it.
No, they definitely
Absolutely.
do. Completely agree.
Right, so they don't allow that stuff. I mean, Apple doesn't allow that stuff to last long. It does happen, but you look at the top shopping apps on the iPhone, Wish, Amazon, eBay. Where's Walmart? Where's Target? They're nowhere to be found, right? They're way at the bottom of the top 10, if barely there. So,
well, it's because the quality of the app.
Is the experience.
Or
is
the
not
experience,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or what Wish does for you. So all I'm saying is that the App Store provides a much broader representation of the world. And so can we, as a platform, offer that as well? Can stores offer a wider array, right, without having to own everything or make everything? And you see that with Theory. They're carrying common project shoes and other ancillary products that are not necessarily their own. Doing very well by it. Doesn't hurt the brand. Actually expands their footprint, quite literally, without actually causing damage to the brand. So I just think that we have to be much more open-minded and department store-like, if not a department store. And so what you're seeing is the brands are being more department store-like, and the department stores are trying to be more brand-like, which is really interesting.
That is an interesting thing. I totally agree with that. I see that every day now.
Yep.
Completely.
And our last one is that, and we think this is going to be like major revolution, is store as service and rentals. So the whole rental economy, the secondary market, which they don't participate in at all today, is only going to grow because people can't afford. Why does Rental Runway exist? Why are they inside Neiman Marcus? Why has Neiman Marcus' sales gone up as a kind of product of a rental market?
Yeah,
exactly. So the fact that we have retailers who have not dipped their toe aggressively into rentals is a huge mistake on their part, because the millennial crowd already is there. I mean, they don't want to own a car. Cadillac now comes out with a car that you rent for $1,500 a month.
And they value the experience over the ownership.
True. Yeah.
Exactly. And there was an interesting study that a Parsons professor did that we shared with our sponsors that basically framed the sharing economy. And the way he did it was he forced every student not to buy anything for a month, 30 days. You had to rent, you had to borrow, you had to barter, you could not buy it. Food, clothing, everything.
So what were they bartering? That's what I want to know.
So they would say, I'll trade you eggs for milk. They were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It didn't matter, clothes.
These are intense life decisions they're making.
So they started, and the whole thesis was, can you imagine, was economic. I'm doing this because I can save money or save,
Right.
That's not the final outcome. The final outcome was about social. They actually said to themselves, economic was valuable, but the social impact was far more significant. I met my next door neighbors because they had to have dinner once a month with other people. And
That's fun.
And invite people over, right? They had to kind of open up their minds to this concept. And so there's some really phenomenal companies over in Europe that are doing a lot in the barter space and the rental space, and they're growing like weeds because, and I live still up in Massachusetts, and I have a massive snowblower, right? I use it 5 times a year.
Yeah.
But my neighbors all use it as well. So now it's being used 20 times a year or 30 times a year, right? That kind of architecture of sharing makes infinite more sense than me owning my own snowblower. There's no reason for it anymore. And we're going to see a lot more of that. So what's going to happen is the stores have to figure this out because their cash flow is going to go through the floor.
Right. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier about experience and kind of tying together the store and the
Yep.
experience,
Yep.
one of the new things that came out for Amazon in particular is being able to just walk out of the store, not actually pulling your wallet out of your pocket at all. What do you think about that experience?
Well, I mean, that's the Uber experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the aha moment in Uber,
Yeah.
right? You know, we've always had the maps, we've always had the call a taxi stuff, but you can never just walk out of a car and feel like what? Like what?
Like a VIP.
Exactly. Exactly. I can just walk out of here, and it's like my jet or my car. It's my car service. It's my limo.
Yep.
I don't even have to think about it. I have to write shits.
Say thanks, bro. Peace. That's
Exactly.
it.
And so what Amazon, and you know, this is not new technology.
Right.
This has been around for 5 years at least. It's staggering to me, that, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, the social kind of footprint that stupid little video did.
Yeah.
I mean, you realize that in order to get into the store, you have to walk through a turnstile. Did you see that? A turnstile. Do you know how old turnstiles are?
So old.
Exactly. So it's not all about new tech. It's just providing technology that gives you that aha moment where you just walk out.
Right.
You don't have to think about it, touch it. You don't have to talk to a cashier. You just walk out, you're out the door.
Yeah, it's about avoiding an interaction you don't want to have.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's other forms of engagement, which are far more important. Like, I still think Starbucks is probably the best retailer on the planet.
Yeah.
So
I
think
would
about it, right? They took
I
a
would
commodity
Yeah.
and they turned it into a $5 cup of coffee, which is crazy. I don't know anyone on planet Earth who's ever taken a commodity that's not like gold and turned it into a high-valued item.
But
And
then also improve the experience because now you've got options. You can walk into the store.
Exactly.
You can,
That's
pay on your
engagement.
wallet. You can pay.
That's
on your-
engagement, right?
on your phone.
Personalizing it, letting me get some version of it for myself that's a little different. Doesn't have to be wildly different. I'm not trying to create coffee,
Right.
I don't need to roast it myself. I don't care about all that. I just want to have this much cream and this much sugar, whatever the combination is. And it's almost infinite choice
Right.
within constraints. So engagement really is about how do you engage the customer and give them something that they're really looking forward to. It's not bribery, it's not drugs, it's not crazy stuff. It's just really some personalization that goes on enough that they feel like they're part of the solution.
Exactly, and it comes back to what you just said a moment ago. Is it makes them feel like they're VIP because you can walk in the store, pick up your cup, and leave.
Exactly.
Everybody in line is figuring out, wait a minute, how did they just walk in and get
Exactly.
their coffee? And so now you're trying to figure out how they had that experience. You want to duplicate that for yourself.
Right.
So that it all comes back to this, in-store experience, which is amazing to see that evolve, especially over the past year alone. But it's
They don't
gonna
have a
be
choice
interesting.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, we started this about a year and a half ago, and we first presented at NRF last year. And there's a joke about, I showed two slides. One is the slide of the computing power changed since the ENIAC computer came out in 1946. So a MIP, if you know what that terminology, a million instructions per second, cost equivalent of $2 billion in 1946. They couldn't do a MIP, they could do one instruction per second, not a million.
Yeah.
The iPhone cost 3 cents a MIP. We're talking about like massive changes in computing power and cost and everything else. And then in retail, we have an old cashier and a new cash register. That's about it. Right? The Amazon video should never have gotten the press it got. The technology's been around. It's retailers have not been willing to change, and they thought they could just control the customer. And the cat's out of the bag.
Without
folks.
changing anything about the
Exactly.
experience.
It's ridiculous. My wife went back to work, went back to retail. One of the reasons it got started, so I'm kind of winding back to the beginning. Why did we start this? And my wife had big jobs in retail for years and stopped working and then went back to work. She said, I don't want to go to China every other week, so I just want to run a store. I'm like, great, run a store. So we're up in Wellesley. She's running a small store. And it's a brand new store, and she hadn't been in retail in close to 35 years. So after day one, day two, how you doing? She said, I'm fine. Like, how can you be fine? It's been 35 years since you worked in a store. And her answer was,
Hasn't changed.
nothing's changed. Really? I mean, everything around us has changed dramatically
Everything.
in 35 years, and retail hasn't. And that's when I knew we could do something in this space, because if we don't get involved, it's not just us, but if innovation doesn't get engaged, we're cratering. And we're seeing it. The numbers are down. And all stores are good at right now is shutting stores and laying people off. That is not a growth path.
Absolutely.
This NRF Lab, that's a growth path.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, I don't mean to take on. I could be here for hours.
No, but that's
We
some,
wanna
I mean,
keep you
that's
for
some very
hours.
interesting insight and companies that we've heard about here today. Absolute pleasure to speak with you here
Absolutely.
today, Pano.
Thank you.
I think we're going to be speaking to a couple of the companies that you work with as well
Good.
in a couple of
Perfect.
minutes. So stay tuned, everybody. You're listening into Behind the Bell here at the NRF Innovation Lab. We'll touch base again soon, Pano. And,
Thanks, Bradley.
Great to have you here.
Pleasure. Josh, thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you
Pano.
All right.
Alrighty. Stay tuned.